Today, my friends and I are here to talk about large-scale war and conflict. As is the last thing, I require you guys to pay full attention because it's a very important topic. Over to Ritika, who will tell you the meaning of large-scale war.
War is a state of disagreement which happens in a large scale, is widespread, declared and intentional, whereas conflict, the level of disagreement is verbal and it's a state of open and prolonged fighting between countries, ideologies or people. I now hand over to Ananya to talk about the causes of war.
I'm sure most of you have heard people say that women are the start of most wars. Well, in a way, that's right. Take for example the Trojan War. Take for example the Trojan War, which started all because of a woman named Helen of Troy. But does this act of mass destruction have such reasons which are really small? The answer is no. One of the main reasons for war is the context regarding religion. For example, the conflicts within India, which caused the separation of India and Pakistan. Hindus and Muslims had such vast differences in culture, which led to major disagreements. Religious wars are linked to various other factors such as seeking revenge for perceived events in the past and nationalism. Nationalism, in this context, shows that you're trying to prove that your country is more superior than another, which is basically showing extreme favoritism to your own country. Related to nationalism, there is a concept called imperialism, which says that conquering other territories is glorious and will give power to the conqueror. In the modern times, countries argue that they are fighting in defense against the aggressor or the potential aggressor, saying their argument being that we are just fighting before they attack us. Next, I will pass it on to Ritika, who will talk about the effects of war and conflict.
The effects of war are mostly devastating in all spheres of life, be it social, economical or environmental. The most apparent impacts of war are the loss of human life, destruction of environment and loss of property. The loss of human life is the worst impact of war. To support this statement, I would like to give the example of a war which is one of the most influential in history and which helped shape the modern era, World War II, which killed almost 85 million people. Survivors, including victims of war and soldiers, suffer from psychological conditions and physical diseases. Physical diseases include tuberculosis, asthma, etc. And the most common psychological condition is post-traumatic stress disorder, which is also known as PTSD. And other psychological conditions include anxiety disorders, insomnia, etc. As a result of economic decline, people suffer from poverty and malnutrition, which contribute to large and intense human suffering. When we talk about impacts of war, we often overlook the positive side. War leads to higher government spending, which leads to higher employment opportunities, and which in turn leads to the boost in economic growth. An example to support this statement would be the Korean War and the escalation of the Vietnam War helped boost the US domestic demand, and the trade companies in US saw a rise in demand and profit. War also accelerates technology and medical advancements. Now I give over the mic to Danica to talk about prevention.
I'm going to be telling you prevention at a scale which you guys can maintain it. So firstly, educate yourself. Before commenting about any situation, learn why, how, and the reason for its occurrence. Get to know the approach, why it was successful, why it was not. Secondly, communication. Communication is always the key. Learn to communicate. Learn and talk to people who disagree with you. In this way, you will expand your knowledge scale. Also, do not shy away from telling your opinions on TVs, radio channels, social media, etc. Third, publicize and oppose racial discrimination. Yes, racial discrimination is a huge topic when it comes to war. When you study the further two topics, you realize the amount of backlash that is there for immigrants these days, and it's a huge, it affects war in a huge way. Also, raise money for third world countries. Make sure it actually reaches them, because an economically developed world is automatically a world with lesser problems, because most problems these days happen because of scarcity of resources, in which one country tries to take up the resources of another country. Moving on, there are a few organizations which are anti-war that will help us in reducing the tension among nations and promote peace. Next. Okay, so moving on, something that we've already learned in our history textbooks is the United Nations. The United Nations is one of the most major anti-war and peacekeeping forces in the world. It started after the Second World War, and ever since there hasn't been a large-scale war, I would say, since 2 decades now. It has reduced war and tension at almost 40% till date. It has 125,000 tireless workers that are men and women working tirelessly every day so that we can live in a more peaceful nation. Also, it promotes global communication, etc. So I would like to conclude by saying it is up to us. Do you want to